F.E.A.R Extraction Point is one of the strangest expansions ever made. It continues the story directly on from the first game, but it wasn't made by the original developers. It was praised on PC, but it was compromised on the Xbox 360. And depending on where you played it, you might have had two completely different experiences. After the success of the original F.E.A.R, Monolith moved on to other projects. So the expansion wasn't made by them. It was handed off to TimeGate Studios, the team behind the Kohan strategy series. Now this is where things get interesting. TimeGate didn't have access to Monolith's full internal tools, but they did understand what made F.E.A.R work. Tight encounters, oppressive atmosphere, and the iconic replica soldier AI. So Extraction Point felt familiar, but slightly different. It's like someone else trying to finish your sentence. They get the rhythm, but the tone shifts. On PC, Extraction Point was well received. The reviews praised it for continuing the story immediately after the first game, keeping the fast and punchy gunfights, maintaining that horror tone and delivering more of what players loved. The AI on PC still behaved like the original as well. The replica soldiers flanked, suppressed, communicated with each other, and reacted dynamically to your position. It wasn't revolutionary like the first game, but it was solid, faithful and fun. Now here's where things fall apart. Extraction Point never released as a standalone game on consoles. It only came to the Xbox 360 as part of F.E.A.R files, a bundle that included both expansions, and the 360 version had major compromises. Firstly, there were CPU limitations. F.E.A.R's AI is extremely CPU heavy. On PC it had room to breathe, but on the Xbox 360 the CPU budget was much tighter. This meant fewer AI routines could be run at once, so enemies often feel slower, less coordinated, less reactive, and more run straight at you. If you've noticed the AI feeling dumber, you're not imagining it. And this isn't just theory. I played the original F.E.A.R on PC before touching this expansion, and the downgrade was immediately noticeable. Replica soldiers that used to flank, suppress, outsmart you suddenly behave like they've forgotten their training. It's a night and day difference. Secondly was the 30 FPS cap. The Xbox 360 version is locked at 30 frames per second, and even on the Series X it never received an FPS boost. So this affects the responsiveness, the hit feel, and even the AI timing. And lastly, there were reduced effects, so to keep the performance stable on the Xbox 360, they had to cut back on things like particle density, volumetric smoke, dynamic lighting, debris physics, all the things that made F.E.A.R's gunfights feel chaotic, cinematic and unique. So back to the actual story. Extraction Point picks up immediately after the end of the first game, so you're still the point man, you're still dealing with the aftermath of the explosion, and most importantly, you're still being hunted by Alma. The expansion added new environments, replica encounters, hallucination sequences, and an even more aggressive Alma presence. It's less subtle than the original, there's more jump scares and more direct confrontations, but it keeps the narrative momentum going. It also expands on the idea that Alma isn't just haunting you, she's guiding you. Although Extraction Point wasn't a reinvention, it certainly was an escalation from the original F.E.A.R. It did add a few new elements, like new weapons like the laser carbine or new enemy types. There was more open combat arenas and there was a heavy focus on psychological horror. It was a louder, more chaotic extension from the first game's formula. Extraction Point is a fascinating expansion, faithful on the PC, compromised on the Xbox, and still one of the most interesting pieces of F.E.A.R's legacy, even if it's not considered canon anymore. If you want to see how the other expansion compares, that video's coming up next.